Hansel Andino, product manager for Cherry Mobile. So today we launched 3 new flare models. We're dubbing this as the Premium Flare series.
Right. So sort of a new generation of flare, right?
That's correct. So, but it still brings the affordability and the spec to price ratio of the original flare. But we just put a more premium in terms of design.
Okay.
So what you're seeing here is the Flare 4. So this is actually has a 5-inch HD display.
Okay.
It has a 13 megapixel and a 5 megapixel camera. And then the memory is 2 gig, 16 gig with a micro SD expansion slot. And it runs on a 6753 MediaTek 64-bit octa-core processor.
So that's a
LTE also.
Right. So that's a new octa-core processor. It sort of goes after the 6752, right?
That's correct.
So it's a new processor, and it seems to be running on?
And it's running on Android 5.1 Lollipop.
Android 5.1 Lollipop. So that's awesome. So Octa-Core 5-inch HD. What is the camera on the back?
13 megapixel, and the front is 5 megapixel.
And you get 2 gigs of RAM and all that.
Yes, 2 gigs of RAM.
So this is the Flare S4.
This is the Flare 4.
Flare 4. And what do you have on the other hand?
The other one is the Flare S4. So in terms of specs, it's actually the same. Identical in terms of specs. You get 5-inch HD display, 2 gig and 16 gig of ROM, micro SD slot expandable, also 13 megapixel, 5 megapixel.
I notice you have a slightly interesting design here.
Yeah,
what do you call that?
This one is like we call it the deluxe chassis. So it has a kind of premium texture feel. So basically you have the same phone, but in terms of design, this is a bit curved, and this is more squarish with
that textured
with that
back.
extra back. Yeah.
Right. So are they? How much are these these guys?
Yeah, the Flare 4 and the Flare S4 will retail for just 4,999 pesos.
4,999 pesos. You're getting a quad core, octa-core, 6753, 1.3 gigahertz, a 5-inch HD display, 13 megapixel cameras, and of course that 5 megapixel front, right?
Correct.
And 2 gigs of RAM. For how much?
4,999 pesos.
That's actually pretty good, pretty impressive, because you have that Flare X, and essentially these are kind of more affordable variants too, right?
Correct.
This is Flare 4 on the left.
Yeah, Flare 4 on the left and Flare S4 on the right.
Flare S4 on the right. Now, I believe there's a bigger version of the Flare S4.
So we have a bigger version of the Flare S4, which we aptly named Flare S4 Plus.
Flare S4 Plus. Everybody's going with the Plus now.
Yeah. So the Flare S4
Oh, that
Plus,
looks like a big one, yeah.
Yeah, it's a 5.5-inch Full HD display.
Full HD now, okay.
So previously it was 5.5-inch HD, so now it's 5.5 Full HD.
Right.
And it has 3 gigs of RAM.
3 gigs of RAM, that's really good.
3 gig 16 and expandable by micro SD. Though this one has a unibody design, so you're not able to take off the back cover. And this one supports, of course, octa-core LTE.
Right. So are all phones, do they have dual SIM capabilities?
All phones are dual SIM, dual micro SIM.
LTE?
LTE, yes.
Awesome.
And then this one has a better camera in terms of it has 16 megapixel camera and a 8 megapixel front camera.
So lots of megapixels for taking your pictures. This is, what do you call this? S4?
S4 Plus.
So same processor?
Same processor.
Octa-core.
6753 octa-core LTE. You have like the aluminum sides. So this actually, if you hold it, it has a very premium build, and the bezels are quite thin.
Nice. And I see, kind of very hard to see with my camera, but there are capacitive buttons over there.
There's actually capacitive buttons.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so that is the S4 Plus.
S4 Plus, and this will retail for 7,999 pesos.
7,999 for a full HD, 3 gigs of RAM. And what's the battery on this guy?
This one is around 3,000 milliamperes.
3,000
and previous Flare 4 and S4 is 2,100 milliamperes.
2,100. All right, so those are the new Flare, what do you call those? Flare 4? Premium flares.
Yeah.
When are they going to be
S4
available?
and S4 Plus. The Flare 4 will be available next weekend. The S4 and S4 Plus will be by end of the month.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.